Well, hello, everybody. I am Gustavo Tolosa, your Starch solution coach and your own concert pianist here. Guess what I'm doing? While we're doing our book club today, I am baking some yams, some baked potato, some sweet potatoes. I have about six in the oven. These should never be missing in your house. Well, unless you don't like sweet potatoes, which of course, you have a lot of other kinds of starches that you can eat, but this is the perfect snack. And I show you five different desserts and or snacks that you can eat and enjoy with sweet potatoes in my webinar, in my cooking webinar number 1, where I also show you my grandmother's baked polenta. You will have a link to this webinar when the replay goes out. But you always want to have these. The last ones, once they're baked, you can just slice them and eat them, or you can make some of those snacks, these slash desserts that I show you in the webinar. All right. So I just want to remind you that a lot of what I do, if not most of it, it's free because I am passionate about passing this information to everybody. So I only ask you in return that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, that you pass it along to others. And if you are on Facebook, that you like my page, which is called Dr. Starch, all spelled out. And that just helps me. I also do coaching sessions with, if you have any questions about food or anything like that. I also teach piano lessons online. And I also do online parties. Like if you want to organize a party at your house, if it's allowed in your area because of the COVID-19 the system, whatever all the rules we're having. But if in some places it's not allowed, but if you want to get some friends in the house and eat, and then I can play for you, or we can do a cooking party together, I'm open for that as well. I also wanted to mention that one of my best friends, Shada, who is a wonderful cook, and she specializes in Persian cooking, but she does a lot of other recipes. She just launched her new website. Actually, we worked on it together, so I feel like it's our own baby. And it's a wonderful website. It has so many resources, and 99% of it is free. All her recipes there are free. You can print them. It's just it's one of the best websites. I want to share with you that you can visit it. It's called Healthy Cooking with Shada, SHADA.com. I will type it later on the screen. And then another good friend of mine, Catherine Lawrence, she has another awesome website where we've done a lot of videos, and she is very, very knowledgeable. And her website is foodsavedme.com. So just those are free resources I'm sharing with you, because you will never run out of delicious recipes. A lot of people think that when we say we're plant-based, that our food is bland and it's boring, and that we are like a rabbit. We eat lettuce and maybe carrots all day long, and that, as you know, is not the case. I thought of something fun to do this week, and I wanted to invite you to do it. If you make a recipe this week from the book, and you wouldn't mind taking a picture of it, you can go to my Facebook page, Dr. Starch, and post it there, or you can email it to me. I just ask you to put a sentence there that says, I allow Gustavo to share my picture, and I can post it. I think that would be fun if every week we saw what we are all making, and you can choose from all these amazing recipes that are in this book. Which, talking about recipes, we'll get to the book in just a second. I just thought today we would talk a little bit about food. If you have the book handy, I want to point out that on page 127, you have some really wonderful pancakes, which I have made many times. And here's a picture. These pancakes are easy to make. They are delicious. And guess what? They freeze beautifully. So I always make a double batch. I don't know. My breakfast is usually the oatmeal, sometimes the hash browns with some greens or something. But once every 3 or 4 months, I make pancakes. And when I make pancakes, I make at least double the recipe and I freeze them. Sometimes they can be a snack. Most of the times they're breakfast. Sometimes it's dinner, okay? But you look at the page 127. It takes 1.5 cups of unbleached white flour. Sometimes I put 1 cup of whole wheat flour, and the other half is the unbleached white flour. Sometimes I do all whole wheat flour, all of it, okay? So you can do that. You don't have to use white flour. And then it just takes 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which if you are a salt-free eater, you don't have to put. And then 1 tablespoon of dry egg replacer, which you can buy in almost any supermarket, or you can get online and just put dry egg replacer, and you can use that. And then it takes 1 cup of mashed ripe bananas. It's about 2 medium or small bananas. Then it has 1 cup of non-dairy milk, which could be rice milk, it could be almond milk, whatever. And the 1 cup of sparkling water is a trick there. You want to do that because it makes the pancake fluffy. And then this is optional, the fresh or the frozen blueberries. So I just wanted to tell you that I have made that recipe several times. It's very delicious. And you can then serve it with sliced fruit on top. If you want to put a little bit of maple syrup, or if not, just the fruit. And it's a perfect, something different from the usual oatmeal. Next week, guys, I will make a big announcement. Okay, you don't want to miss next week. I'm dying to tell you today, but I can't because it's not quite ready. But I'm super excited. It's something I've been wanting to do for 5-6 years. And I think it's becoming reality. So I will share that with you next week. And I hope that you will be here to hear it, to listen to it. Okay, let's jump right in and go to our book. Remember that I always tell you as a disclaimer that every time you make a significant change in your diet, food is a powerful medicine, and you would need to really be under the care of a physician, hopefully a physician that is knowledgeable about plant-based nutrition, which I mentioned before can be challenging, but it's not impossible. Much less nowadays when telemedicine is more and more of a choice. So, but if you need help, please let me know, and I'll try to point you to some resources that might help you find a plant-based physician. So let's go to chapter 1, hopefully today we'll finish chapter 1. We're going to page 16 because I want to spend a good amount of time on page 16 and 17. I know you have read it, or hopefully you've read it, but it really helps to talk about this and process it. And please feel free to write comments and questions because I do read them from here. I can read that. Will dry egg replacer do you use for? Okay, let me show you what dry egg. Hold on, just a minute. Let me go get it. It is called Energy, and it's this. You could buy, like I said, online. In some stores, you can get it in stores. And it isn't the only thing. You can replace eggs with flax seed. You can replace eggs with other. I do have a handout that I will try to put here on the screen. Give me just a minute, and I will see if I can find it. I hope you can see that. You can use ground flaxseed. You can use chia seed, soy protein, which I do not recommend, as we saw in Dr. McDougall's book, The Starch Solution, last month. It is that is too it's too processed. Agar, I haven't used it. Ripe bananas are actually a substitute for eggs. Applesauce is another substitute for eggs, and peanut butter too. But remember that peanut butter is high in calories and high in fat, which is perfectly fine if you are not having any problems with weight. But if you want to, keep your weight or lose weight, try to not. But again, these pancakes are not something meant to be eaten every single day. Once a month, like I said, I think I eat them twice a year because I'm just happy now with a simple diet, and I just eat my oatmeal all the time. I'm switching here. Okay, it's a sea vegetable. Very good. All right. Later on, you can pause on the chart and take notes, whatever, and hopefully that will help. So let's go to page 16 and 17. And I want to just talk about the carbohydrates because we're talking about a starch-based diet here. And so this is the core of the issue. Okay, this is the way that you will succeed at regaining your health, which is really the purpose of these books. Weight loss is a byproduct. I know for some people like me at one point that I needed to lose 70 plus pounds, it was a priority, but really is to regain your health. And hopefully if you're taking medicine to diminish or at some point not take any, always under the doctor's care. But the starch is what makes it happen. So carbohydrates are made by plants, and they're stored in the leaves, in the stems, in the roots, in the flowers and fruits. This is very important to know because all the plants make some kind of carbohydrate. So plant foods contain both simple and complex carbohydrates. This is very important because there are two kinds. And of course, the food industry has done a great job confusing people and calling carbohydrates everything. But not all carbohydrates are evil, especially the carbohydrates that are called starch. Okay, so we have simple and complex. in various amounts. For example, in fruits often contain 90% of their calories are as carbohydrates, and most are the sweet tasting simple sugars such as glucose or fructose. So that's why Dr. McDougall in the books that he writes says, eat fruit. We're not going to limit you, but if weight loss is an issue, you might want to try to limit, because it's what we call simple sugars. It's not the same as table sugar, because this sugar that is in the fruit, it comes combined in perfect balance with fiber, which slows down the absorption of the sugar, and with water that dilutes that sugar, and with other nutrients and micronutrients. So it's all packaged perfectly in perfect balance, but still they're simple sugars. Okay, so green and yellow vegetables store most of their calories as complex carbohydrates. That's even better, complex carbohydrates. But since they contain very few total calories, the amount of energy they provide in the diet is small. That's why eating non-starchy vegetables, like we call them, even though they have some starch, but just kale and cucumbers and lettuce, you would have to eat pounds and pounds and pounds a day to even get close to getting enough calories, and then it gets expensive. All right, so we use those vegetables that are green and red and yellow and orange for color, for aroma, for texture, for flavor, but the main thing is the starch. So the best sources of carbohydrates, Dr. McDougall says, are whole grains like rice and corn, whole grain flours like barley, corn, rice, wheat, and rye, as well as whole grain pastas made from them, such as wheat and soba noodles, and winter squashes like acorn and Hubbard, all of which contain sufficient quantities of energy to fuel your daily needs from complex carbohydrates, and thus are known as starches. Okay, rice, corn, and other grains, as well as potatoes, typically store about 80% of their calories in the form of starch. Beans, peas, and lentils are approximately an average of 70% starch. So in the second paragraph here, in the second paragraph of page 16, it says, carbohydrates are the preferred source of energy for our tissues, and all of the cells in our bodies can use carbohydrates for energy. So the carbohydrate glucose is essential for brain. About 140 grams a day are utilized. However, under unusual circumstances, such as when someone is starving to death, or I should say also, like if you're doing like a water fast, let's say, the brain can adapt, and the brain can start at one point burning ketones from fat. It takes, I don't remember very well if it takes 3 days, 2 or 3 days, depending on how much carbohydrates you have stored in your body. So it can burn that. Now it says, not surprisingly, brain function in people has been found to be impaired when the body burns ketones rather than glucose. That is why when someone is doing a water fast, they tell you, you're gonna try to make it easy, take it easy. You're not gonna be working like a workaholic all day. You're gonna relax. You're gonna be in a place like True North where you are monitored 24 hours a day by a team of doctors. You're having blood work done. So it can be done safely. There is also concern that long-term adherence to a low-carb, ketone-producing diet may cause permanent damage to the developing brain, basically a child. Certain tissues, such as red blood cells and some of the kidney cells, can only burn glucose. They cannot burn anything else through a process known as glucogenesis to keep blood and kidney cells alive. So another very interesting and important fact for us to know is that we human beings, we store 2 pounds of carbohydrate in our muscles. Those 2 pounds are not seen. They're in the muscles, under the muscles, and in the liver also as glycogen. And these reserves are immediately available to supply the brain and other carbohydrate burning tissues during long periods between meals. They also serve to provide a steady supply of fuel for athletes during endurance events. I'm just passionate about this topic of how starch works, so that's why I'm spending a little bit extra time here. You've probably heard that marathon runners and other endurance athletes load up on carbohydrates before an event in order to store energy, providing fuel for the long race. They do this because they want to win. Loading up on carbohydrates several times a day will also give you the energy to race through your busy life. Something that I noticed soon after I changed to a starch-based diet was that I didn't have ups and downs in energy like I used to. Sometimes in the middle morning, I would just go, like a balloon that deflates, and then we'll have lunch and we'll have energy. Then in the early afternoon, I will go down and so forth like this. When you have enough complex carbohydrates stored in your body, your energy stays pretty much stable the whole day. I mean, I get up and I have energy, and until I go to bed at 11 and sometimes at 12, I still have energy. So that is something that is so refreshing, so wonderful to feel energetic the whole day. The only food from animals in which carbohydrates are found in significant amounts is in their milk, which contains a simple sugar, okay, not complex carbohydrate, simple sugar called lactose. But lactose cannot be digested by most adults and consequently can cause assorted signs and symptoms of indigestion, such as diarrhea, stomach cramps, and painful amounts of gas. In general, Americans eat far too few calories from carbohydrates, only about 40%. If to make things worse, the kinds of carbohydrates eaten most commonly are empty calories in the form of white sugar, corn syrup, and fructose. So yeah, okay, maybe Americans, let's be optimistic and say that Americans eat 40% about of carbohydrates, but those carbohydrates are not the health promoting carbohydrates. They're empty calories in the form of white sugar and corn syrup and fructose. The healthiest diet on the planet encourages you to consume 70 to 90% of your calories from starches, barley, beans, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, wheat, and the remainder from other vegetables and fruits. Very good. So that's, I don't know if you have any question. I really needed to hear this again. I am very good. Well, thank you. I have to tell you that I read those 2 pages from time to time because we have to have that clear in our mind that we need starches. And these starches are complex carbohydrates most of the time. And they're not loaded up with cheese and sour cream and butter, because the minute you do that, it's ruined. You might as well just throw it away. It's no good. So this is very, very important. Let's go to page 18. And it says we are starch eaters, also referred to as starchivores or starchitarians. Starches are plant parts that store an abundance of energy, otherwise known as carbohydrates, to power our rocket-building brains and to sustain muscles that can run for days without stopping. Potatoes and sweet potatoes are so nutritionally complete that a person can live in excellent food on these foods alone. I cannot tell you how many times Dr. McDougall has mentioned it in public and to me personally with total certainty that a human being can live on potatoes and or sweet potatoes for their life and get all the nutrition. So we're talking about superfoods here. Grains and legumes, however, they need a little help from fruit. See, we've got to remember this, that potatoes and sweet potatoes are super starches. They contain everything we need. Now, the legumes and the grains, they need a little help from fruits like oranges and green or yellow vegetables like broccoli in order to provide adequate vitamin A and C, because those grains and legumes are not quite complete in the amount of vitamin A and C that we need. Okay, so that means that if you were never going to eat a potato or sweet potato and you were going to focus on grains and legumes, then you would certainly need to add some fruits and greens to add the vitamin A and C. Of course, if we eat potatoes and sweet potatoes, we still eat the others. I eat big salads, I eat a lot of kale, I eat quite a lot of greens because I'm convinced of what Dr. Esselstyn says about how greens protect the endothelium cells that protect our arteries all through our bodies. So I do that. All right, let's go on to page 19 and talk about the truth about protein. And here Dr. McDougall says, there has never been a single case of protein deficiency reported in the world. And we hear all this nonsense about, have you had your protein today? How much protein are you eating? Are you sure you're getting enough protein? Yes, I am sure. As long as I eat a normal amount of calories a day, if I'm not eating 500 calories a day, as long as I eat a diet of about 2,000 calories a day, give and take, I have protein. I have enough protein. So he says, there has never been a single case of protein deficiency reported in the world that results from any natural diet with a sufficient number of calories. And then there is a number 36 here. You can go to the end of the book and find where that comes from. Let's just do one as an example. 36 says, when friends ask, where do you get your protein? So that is in one of the newsletters that Dr. McDougall wrote. And that newsletter, at the same time, has quotes from other studies, scientific and medical. All right, so isolated protein deficiency caused by avoiding animal-derived foods is a lie. Okay, thinking that if you don't eat animal food, you're going to have protein deficiency is a fallacy, it's a lie, it's not true. Plants also provide all of the essential amino acids that make up these proteins in order to meet our needs. So, in the meantime, billions and billions of people are suffering and dying because what? They're eating too much protein. So respected researchers find that those hunter-gathering populations that have based their diets on meat, such as the Eskimos, suffer from heart disease, actually, and other forms of atherosclerosis, while hunter-gatherers who have based their diets on plant foods, starches, are free of these diseases. Let's turn the page to page 20. And in the second paragraph, there is something of concern. We need to know this information. This is life-saving information. It says protein accelerates growth for good and bad. So sure, protein accelerates the growth, especially if you want to, if you're a bodybuilder or a person that is, a teenager, someone who's growing. It accelerates the growth in the good and in the bad. It doesn't say, okay, I'm going to focus in the good part only. So meat and dairy products stimulate growth by various mechanisms, which include raising levels of insulin-like growth factor 1. That is a very common term. It's referred to as IGF-1, and that is insulin-like growth factor 1. Resembling insulin in its chemical structure, it resembles insulin, but it's not. IGF-1 accelerates the rate of growth of normal and diseased tissues, bone and cancer, respectively. So if someone has cancer and it's too much protein, what Dr. McDougall is saying, it's going to also accelerate the growth of that bad tissue. Also, this hormone accelerates aging. I don't know about you, but I don't want to accelerate aging. Mice with lower levels of IGF-1, according to numerous experiments, live 40% longer, almost half as much, than mice with normal levels of IGF-1. What's more, as these mice get older, they not only look younger, but more importantly, they resist diseases and chronic ailments of the aging process. So all animal foods, cow's milk in particular, let's underline that, cow's milk in particular, raise the IGF-1 levels in humans. The purpose of cow's milk is to accelerate the growth of a cow from 60 to 600 pounds. Okay, humans don't do that. We don't go from 60 pounds to 600 pounds. It's a very big growth, and that's what milk is supposed to do. The milk of a cow is for a calf. It's not for a human. So a good example of this effect by vegetable protein is seen with the isolated soy protein used in synthetic foods, from candy bars to burgers, which is an even more powerful promoter of IGF-1 than cow's milk. So please don't use the isolated soy protein. Very good. High cholesterol on page 21. The title summarizes high cholesterol is a sign of poor health. So on page 22 now, page 22, a letter from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition summarizes the research. As shown in thousands of animal experiments and mammals and birds, including non-human primates, the addition of cholesterol to their usual diet is virtually a requirement for the production of atherosclerosis. Even the addition of small amounts of cholesterol to the diet of rabbits, chickens, and monkeys, resulting in little or no increase in blood cholesterol, produces atherosclerosis in the long term nonetheless. Human studies have confirmed the causative relationship between eating cholesterol containing animal foods and heart disease and stroke. Did you know that eggs contain the highest concentration of cholesterol? Eggs contain 8 times. Oh my gosh. It's not just double the amount or triple the amount. 8 times more cholesterol than beef. Look at the chart on page 22. So what did the egg industry do? They need to keep selling you eggs. They need to convince you that you need to continue eating eggs. In response, the egg industry has purposefully misled the public and its practicing physicians about the harmful effects of eggs, which are poisonous when consumed in the high amounts typical of American diets. All right, let's move on to page 24 and 25, where you have examples of starches and then non-starchy vegetables and fruits. I think that this is a very useful 2 pages because, you know, make a copy of that, put it on your refrigerator, have it there. Maybe just at some point you're going to memorize it. Know exactly what things have starches, what vegetables have non-starchy fruits, etc. Very good. Let's go to page 26. And it keeps talking about the egg industry. Goodness sake, the second paragraph says, the purpose of a hen's egg is to provide all the materials necessary to develop the one cell created by the joining of a cock's sperm with a hen's ovum into a complete chick with feathers, a beak, 2 eyeballs, 2 wings, 2 legs, and a tail. You're eating all of that. That one egg contains all of the nutrients and energy and fat and cholesterol that is needed to create that new life, that animal. This miraculous growth and development is supported by 1.5-ounce package of ingredients, the hen's egg jammed with proteins, fats, cholesterol, vitamins, and minerals. The hen's egg has been called one of nature's most nutritious creation for growing chicks. Okay. It's one of the richest foods. That's what Dr. McDougall says. It provides too much cholesterol, fat, and protein for our body to process safely. Our bodies are not prepare, not made to process so much fat and so much protein and so much cholesterol in a safe way. So on page 27, Dr. McDougall says, guys, the diet that I'm proposing, which is called the healthiest diet on the planet, is not a new diet. I did not invent it. On paragraph number 2, this is not a new diet. Until a century ago, almost every person on earth ate a starch-based diet, excluding the aristocracy, because they had the money to be able to buy the animal products. So their foods were mostly, say, 90% starches, with some fruits and greens and yellow vegetables added, and when they were in season. Meat, poultry, dairy foods, eggs, fish, seafood, cookies, pies, and candies were eaten only occasionally and served as delicacies. As a result, people were trim, strong, and free of the diseases common in people living today. The exceptions were the kings, queens, pharaohs, priests, and other aristocrats who ate rich food daily at every meal like Americans, and in the process developed obesity, diabetes, atherosclerosis, gout, and tooth decay, as well as the other chronic dietary diseases found in the modern men, women, and children. On page 28, Dr. McDougall gives you the approximate percentage of what the healthiest diet on the planet is. And it is 70 to 90% starch, 70 to 90% starch, so more than half your plate. 10 to 20% non-starchy vegetables, 5 to 10% fruit, and 0% meat, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, and vegetable oils. So he says, as you can see, I am asking you to remove meat, poultry, dairy, eggs, and fish, all animal foods, and vegetable oils from your diet entirely. The healthiest diet on the planet consists of foods that will help you lose weight, stay trim, feel fit, look attractive, perform athletically, fight off disease, and live longer and happier. Now, the last paragraph is quite insightful, and I do want to highlight it. I want to highlight this because Dr. McDougall does, and I haven't seen a lot of doctors and other chefs and dietitians say it. I think maybe, I don't know why, but I appreciate that Dr. McDougall says that. I would like to add that this is not an all or nothing recommendation. I must, however, teach you the best I know, and then you will do the best you can. Wow, what wise words. He must teach you the best that he knows. He's not gonna treat you like some of the doctors that have seen me before. I'm sure maybe you have the case, it's like they almost think that we're too stupid to understand these and to follow this. He said, no, they're not gonna be able to do it. I think they're gonna do better if I just give them this prescription drugs. I don't think they're going to be able to switch their diet. I don't think they're going to be able to stick with it. No. So he says he must teach you the best that he knows, and then you will do the best you can. It depends how committed you are. It depends how sick you are. It depends how desperate you are. It depends on your family and friends and your environment, okay? But results are usually proportional to the changes you make. But some conditions, such as inflammatory arthritis, requires strict adherence to the program. Okay, so he's saying, I'm telling you, I'm giving you everything. I'm not holding back any information. I'm giving you all the best that I know. If you do 100%, you're going to have abundant health. You're going to look trim and energetic and young and everything. If you follow 90%, then you're going to get 90% result. If you follow 70%, you're going to get 70% result. And then on page 29, he says, my own research. And he talks about how in October of 2014, the Nutrition Journal published a study of his with the results of 1,615 people following the healthiest diet on the planet. And, they report all these benefits that we all know. People on an average lost 3 pounds in 7 days. And the cholesterol sometimes, depending on the person, can drop 20, 30, 40 points. And the same with blood pressure. Also, they report the adherence to the program, how most people can stay on it. It's not difficult to stay on it. Then in between the years 2009 and 2013, the neurology department of the Oregon Health and Science University, the medical school in Portland, Oregon, independently compared 29 patients who went through my 10-day living program and continued the plan in varying degrees with a control group of a similar number who did not follow the program over a year-long period. The results were astonishing, and it is important to underline here that the study design was randomized, rater-blinded, controlled trial, was of the highest scientific quality, and Dr. McDougall and his program were not involved at all in it. So page 32 says, too good to be true. While, although these results might seem too good to be true, the healthiest diet on the planet offers a scientifically based alternative that immediately helps you to lose weight, feel better, protect yourself against life-threatening medical problems, and reverse common diseases. This is a simple and proven formula that I have been sharing with patients for 4 decades. The healthiest diet on the planet continues to yield life-changing results. Then he talks about the National Geographic issue of November 2005, if you want to take a look at that issue. And they published an article called The Secret of Living Longer. And they focus on different places on the planet where people live long lives and healthy lives. One is Okinawa, Japan. Another one is Sardinia, Italy. Another one is Loma Linda, California. And all of those follow a plant-based diet. Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Icaria, Greece, have recently been added to the list of locations of the longest lived and healthiest people on the planet. And those have been called the blue zones. You probably have heard about the blue zones. There is a book called Blue Zones, and it is quite intriguing and amazing to read what these people do to live to 100 and over and be totally healthy and without being able to move around and be active and cognitively alert. The fundamental message I am sharing with you is that it is the food, The results are yours for the taking with no risk, cost, or side effects. Is it worth it? Of course it is. And then on page 34, which is the end of chapter 1, the last two sentences say, by its natural composition, the healthiest diet on the planet controls the intake of calories, fat, protein, carbohydrate, vitamins, and minerals effortlessly without ever causing hunger. Just think about that. So this diet, the starch solution or the healthiest diet on the planet, takes care, if you follow it, takes care of your intake of calories and fats and proteins and carbohydrates, everything effortlessly without asking you to ever be hungry. Now that is what I call a program you can live with for years and years, well into your golden age. And everybody, I would like to, I know we cannot choose, but I would like to live to 100, 104, as long as I can be independent and healthy and, have and move around and not be in a wheelchair or in a bed connected to, 8 different machines. I would love to do that because I'm passionate about spreading this information, cooking for you, playing the piano for you, visiting you whenever possible. And I hope that that is your goal too. So to finish our time together today, I'm going to play one of my favorite waltzes. I love all of the waltzes that Friedrich Chopin wrote. This one was published after he died, so it's a posthumous waltz. It's a waltz in A minor, and it's simple, sort of. Simple, doesn't mean easy, although sometimes we think simple means easy. A lot of Mozart's music is simple, but it's extremely difficult to bring to life and perform. So it's simple, but it's just so beautiful. I think it would be a perfect ending to our time together. I will see you next week, and I hope that you will either send me photos of some of the recipes that you make this week, or you will post them on my Facebook page. If you want to email them to me, my email is born4health, BORN, the number 4, HEALTH @gmail.com, or you can send it to info@plantamus.com, plant, PLANTUMS, and .com. Okay, I will move the camera and leave you with this waltz by Friedrich Francois Chopin.